Now, I want to talk about Moses. So Moses was a great prophet, perhaps the most important prophet in the whole of the Old Testament. And because of that, he's usually depicted as a very big man with a very big beard. And he's always depicted as having a staff, because God did various miracles with his staff when he was in Egypt. But despite being the greatest prophet, Moses, we know, was a very humble man. So the Bible tells us that he really understood how small and simple he was in front of God. He really deeply understood that. He was a very humble man. And we also know that he didn't like public speaking. He didn't like talking to groups of other people. He hated it. Perhaps he was a little bit shy. And in the end, God said to him, okay, your brother Aaron can help you, and he'll talk to all the people. So you talk to him, and he'll talk to the people, and that way you don't have to talk to the people. So Moses, a very great prophet, but a very humble man, and someone who didn't like talking to the people. Anyway, he led the people of Israel out of their slavery in Egypt, and he'd led them through the Red Sea, and all Pharaoh's army who'd chased after them to bring them back, all that army had died, had drowned in the Red Sea. So Moses and the Israelites, they'd escaped from Pharaoh, and they were in the wilderness, but safe from Egypt. And anyway, they walked through the wilderness, and they had not gone very far when they came to Mount Sinai. And at the bottom of Mount Sinai, they set up camp. And all of Israel was there. All the men, all the women, all the children, all the animals and livestock. Everybody was there. And they set up camp at the bottom of the mountain. But they'd not been at the bottom of the mountain very long when Moses heard a call from God up the mountain. So he went up the mountain to talk to God. And at the top of the mountain, he talked to God. And God said to him, go and say this to my people Israel. He said, I want you to be my chosen people. I want you to listen to my voice, to follow my commandments, and you'll be my treasured possession. You'll be a priestly people. You'll be a holy nation. Go and tell the people this and see if they'll do that. So Moses came down the mountain, and he called together all the people of Israel, and he said to them, listen to what the Lord God says. He says, I want you to be my chosen people. I want you to listen to my voice and to obey my commandments, and you'll be my treasured possession. You'll be a priestly people. You'll be a kingly nation. And what do you say? Will you go with what the Lord God wants? And the people look at one another, and they know the great power of God. They know how he saved them from slavery in Egypt. They know how he made all of Pharaoh's army die in the Red Sea. So they look at one another, and they look back at Moses, and they say, yes, we'll do it. We'll be God's chosen people. We'll be his priestly nation. We'll be his kingly people. And so a covenant is formed. A covenant, an agreement between the people and with God. And they agreed to be God's chosen people. And in fact, that's where the bit that we read ends. But if we'd read a bit further, we'd have heard that Moses went back up the mountain to tell God that the people had agreed. And God gave him the 10 Commandments. And he came down the mountain to give the 10 Commandments to the people. And in fact, for lots of different reasons, many, many times, Moses went up the mountain to talk to God, and then he'd come down the mountain to talk to the people. And he has this role as a go-between between the people and God. So some of the time he's with the people, and he's talking to them about the things of God, and sometimes he's with God, and he's praying to God for the people. And that role of go-between, between people and God, we think of that as the priestly role. And in fact, the whole kingdom of Israel is called to be a priestly people. It's called to be a go-between for the whole of humanity. This priestly people is a go-between between the whole of humanity and God. And in fact, in the church, we understand that we're also a priestly people, a holy nation, we too have this go-between role that Moses has. So we need to be with all the people and share with them the things of God, but we also need to spend time in front of God in prayer for all the people. That's part of our role as church, this being this go-between people so that all people can be brought to God. So we need to practice being a priestly people so that the whole world can be brought to God. Amen.